What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today I'm here with a review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. I actually just got out of this movie not too long ago, so my thoughts are completely fresh, and there's surprisingly a lot to get to here. So with that said, let's get into it. Okay, so Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows is directed by Dave Green and is produced by Michael Bay. Out of the Shadows is the second film in this rebooted Ninja Turtles franchise, and if you've seen the first one that was released back in 2014, this one attempts to follow suit but only bigger. The problem with this one is that the bigger is not better, mostly from an execution standpoint. While the first film definitely had its flaws, I actually enjoyed it for the most part. I enjoyed it because you watch it for the spectacle, the special effects, and the combat sequences, and it did those things really well. You don't really come to a movie like this for the story or the acting. It's not like it's a Marvel movie or anything where you're going to get both at a high level. And in this second film, the action sequences don't occur as frequently, and when they do, they're just not as entertaining and they don't hold the emotional weight that they did the first time around. Even though Michael Bay only produced this movie, this feels exactly like a movie he would direct himself. I say that because the scenes and the overall story play out almost as if you were watching a more kid-friendly Transformers movie. It's almost like they have a checklist of things that need to be present for various parts in a blockbuster movie scene, and they include them every single time. This movie is predictable, and that works in some movies because they're executed at a higher level, but it didn't here because the surrounding parts don't form a strong, cohesive whole. Before I get too far ahead of myself though, let's start with a brief spoiler-free summary of the plot. So after the events that occurred in the 2014 film, our lovable Ninja Turtles Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, and Michelangelo return to their crime-fighting tactics of sticking to the shadows. They do this in the fear that they won't be accepted among humans, but the whole time I'm thinking to myself like, didn't you fight Shredder in broad daylight in the middle of New York City? A camera or two had to pick up this massive fight scene from the first movie, but I guess not. While last time around, like I said, they faced the villainous Foot Clan and the infamous Shredder, this time around they face a couple of different foes. Now I won't tell you exactly who because I don't want to spoil anything for you if you plan on going to see this movie, but I'll give you my opinion on two villains you might already know in the film from the trailers, and that's Bebop and Rocksteady. Bebop the Warthog and Rocksteady the Rhino are just sort of silly and ridiculous to me. While I get that the filmmakers are doing their best to be true to these characters from the 80s or 90s TV show, they just don't translate very well in this film. They're errand boys of one of our main antagonists, and I had two problems with this mostly. They weren't as funny as I had hoped, and they really didn't do much actual fighting. They're just sort of there and not really that cool of characters. I actually didn't like the CGI of them either, to be honest. So as for our Ninja Turtles, their personalities are exactly the same pretty much as they were the first time around, with a little more maturity in some cases. There's definitely still some bickering between Raphael and Leonardo over what's best for the group. Michelangelo is still his immature self, and Donatello is still the nerdy computer geek that's the brains of this operation. The interactions between the brothers are interesting at times because they have a very unique dynamic. Each one of them brings something entirely different to the group, and that's really what makes them a great team. This time around though, you definitely see more differences in opinion on how to solve dilemmas, which is good because it adds some needed tension and drama between the brothers. But sadly, this tension never gets a chance to amount to anything significant because in most cases, the filmmakers extinguish this dramatic flame through attempts at humor. And this is what the Ninja Turtles are from the old TV show, I get that, and a kid might really love this, but as an adult, I just didn't. Okay, so as for the acting, it was just okay. Megan Fox was good, but her role was just as one-dimensional as you'd expect it to be. Her role of April O'Neil is very similar to her role in Transformers as Michaela Barnes. While she's definitely not just a damsel in distress here, her character is not set up to be one that can really shine. I actually think Megan Fox has a lot of talent and acting ability, and I'd love to see her land a role where she could actually show off her skills instead of just being in this one-dimensional, beautiful woman role of a blockbuster film. Will Arnett is okay in this movie as well, but just like Megan Fox, he can't really escape the poor storyline that his character finds himself in. He has his funny moments, but overall this film does not do him any favors. We have two newcomers to the franchise, and that's Tyler Perry and Stephen Amell. Tyler Perry you mostly know from his role as Medea, and Stephen Amell as the Green Arrow. Both are just really bad in this film, I have to say. Tyler Perry was just set up to fail with how crappy his character was written, and Stephen Amell just fell flat for me with his acting. I felt he was really unconvincing in his character, which was very bland from start to finish. Tyler Perry didn't do too hot either with the acting of his character, but like I said, the script did both of them zero favors. Each of the four Ninja Turtles are voiced well by their respective actors, and they do a really good job relaying the personality of these characters to you as the viewer. It also helps that in the beginning of the film, they literally tell you on screen what each Ninja Ninja Turtles' role is in the group. This is probably for the kids, as that's what this film's target demographic is, but I think kids are smart enough to get this on their own. And finally, let's talk about the action. The problem this time around is that there's not nearly enough of it. In the first one, we had a handful of action scenes that were really well done and pretty much carried the movie. And that's what you're supposed to do in these Michael Bay style films, because the plot is sure as hell not going to carry the film under this formula. But this time around, you really only get 2 action scenes, and the first one is okay but very brief, and the final one is almost just a straight copy of Avengers 1, but obviously not nearly as good. I won't go into too many details here, but Nickelodeon straight stole a play out of the Marvel playbook with this final fight scene. The main villain that I won't mention by name is also very underwhelming in my opinion. He's not near as menacing as Shredder was in the first film, and you really don't see him very much at all. Overall though, I thought this film had some decent action sequences, impressive CGI, mostly bad acting and a bad plot, and a lot of very bland characters. I'm gonna give this movie a 4 out of 10 for all the reasons I've laid out in this video. If you're a parent and you wanna take your kid to see this movie, I guess I'd recommend it because it's mostly targeted at kids, but if you're above the age of say 12, I'd avoid this film if you can. So did you guys see Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows yet? What did you think of it? And if you haven't seen it yet, let me know in the comments below whether you're excited to see it or not. That's all for now. This is Will Fox Vacations signing off. See you in the next review.